I'm not sure. Okay. You shall command the children of Israel that, and they shall take to you pure olive oil, crushed for lighting, to kindle the lamps continually. Ner tamid, the lamps were continuously lit. Let's go to Kassis, Rashi Kassis. Hazesim koitish. He must crush the olives b'machteshes, with a mortar. Ve'enei teichanan barachayim, but he may not grind them in a mill, so they will not contain sediment. In order to get just oil, pure oil, without the sediment, you did it with a mortar. After he has extracted the first drop of oil, he places the olives into a mill and grinds them. The resulting second oil is unfit for the menorah, but is fit for the meal offerings. As it is said, crushed for lighting, but not crushed for meal offerings. So they didn't waste it. They used first with one way of squeezing that was good enough for the menorah, and a second, more extraction done with the mill, which grinds it finer, if you want to say, and that is fit for the meal offering, but not fit for the menorah. Lahales ner tamid shall heves olamei aleh. Madlik achte shall heves olamei aleh. It has to light strong enough that the flame rises by itself. Tamid, what does it mean continuously? Kol laila v'laila karu tamid. Every night is considered tamid, although it is offered up only from day to day. Similarly, concerning the flat pan meal offering of the Kohen Gadol, the word tamid is mentioned, although it is offered up only half in the morning and the other half in the evening. The word tamid mentioned concerning the showbread, however, literally means from Shabbat to Shabbat, continually. Okay. In the tent of meeting outside the dividing curtain, Asher ala edus, that is in front of the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall set it up before Hashem from the evening until the morning. Remember, the Jewish day obviously goes from the evening, starts at the evening to the morning. Lifnei Hashem, before Hashem, chukas olam, an everlasting l'day roisam, an everlasting chayk, an everlasting statute for generations. Me'ez b'nei Yisrael, from the children of Israel. Me'erev ad baiker, give it its measure so that it will burn from evening till morning. And the sages estimated that this is a half a log, between 6 and 10.5 fluid ounces for the long nights of Teves, and similarly for all the nights. If any of it remains, it does not matter. So the most you need for the longest night of the winter nights is 10.6 fluid ounces will be enough for it to burn. So you can see how particular they were about how much oil and how long it burns. Reminds you of a holiday, huh? One of those holidays where it burned a lot longer than expected. Va'ata, chapter 28. Va'ata hakre v'lachas Aaron achicha v'ezbanav itai. Now bring yourself near Aaron, your brother, and his sons, mitoich bnei Yisrael, from among the Jewish people, lekainili, to serve me. Aaron nadav avihu Elazar v'itamar bnei Aaron. Aaron nadav avihu Elazar, and Itamar, Aaron's sons. What does it mean to, and you shall bring near to yourself after you complete the work of the Mishkan? Once the Mishkan is completed, you should start this service, Aaron and his children. And you shall make holy garments for Aaron, for his honor and glory. And you shall speak to the wise-hearted, whom I have filled with spirit of chachma, of wisdom. And they shall make Aaron's garments to serve me. These are the garments that you shall make. I wonder if this is this inside this book? the garments. I don't think so. Oh, maybe it is. Oh, right here. The Eiliv Abagadim.
Unblur.
Oh, thank you for the reminder. It is over here. Okay, let's unblur. And let's get closer. Okay. The Eila Habgad Mashayasu, Choishen, the Ephod, the Choishen, the Ephod, Umiil, which is a robe, Uksoines Tashbates, the checkered tunic, Mitznefes, the Avnit, the cap, the Asu. Oh, sorry, the Avnit is the sash. The Asu bigdei kodesh la'arein of achicha ulvanav lachaneli, and they shall make the holy garments of your brother Aaron and his sons to serve me. Okay, whoa, what is this Rashi? Okay, let's read this. So the ephod, which, by the way, you can see the picture of the ephod right over here. This is the ephod. That bottom thing is the ephod, and the chayshen is obviously this at the top over here. This is the chayshen with all different colors and shvatim. So let's talk about let's see what Rashi says about the ephod. I did not hear that it was a garment. I have no tradition concerning the ephod, and I did not find the explanation of its pattern in the Brisa. My heart tells me that the Kohen HaGadol was girded with the ephod from behind, its width being like the width of an average man's back, similar to a kind of apron called parzet or porset, a kind of belt, like an apron, back to front, that princesses wear when they ride horseback. So it was made from below for the lower part of the body. Okay, yeah, it's kind of like a skirt. So unlike a traditional apron, which covers your chest, over here is basically like a lower apron. As it is said, and David was girded with a linen ephod. We learn that the ephod was a belt. It is impossible, however, to say that it was only a belt, because it is said, and he put the ephod on him, and afterwards, and he girded him with the band of the ephod. So it must be that there's a band to the ephod, and there's another part, which is like this skirt-like thing. And thus we learn that the chayshev was the band, and the ephod was a separate decoration. It is impossible to say that because of the two shoulder straps in it, it is called an ephod. For it is said the two shoulder straps of the ephod, which means that the shoulder straps are not the core of the ephod. And it also said about the belt. So it must be it has a belt and it has shoulder straps, but the rest of it, or the whole thing completely, is called the ephod. Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh wait, let's turn the page so we can find it. The me'il, right here, you can see the me'il, and you can see the turban, the mitznefes, and the kseinis, the tunic, and also the sash, the avnet. So, and that's all the things in this pasuk. In this pasuk, this is all the things that are mentioned: the tunic, the robe, the turban, the sash, and on the previous page, the choishen, the breastplate, and also the ephod, the apron. Okay, let's go. And they shall take the gold, the blue, the purple, the crimson wool, and the linen. Who are they? These wise-hearted people who are to make the garments shall receive from the donors the gold and the blue wool from which to make all the garments. Okay. The asu es ephod, and they shall make the ephod, that ephod that we just looked at before. Let's go back to the ephod for a second. The apron. Ve'asu is a ephod zav chelas v'argaman teilas shni v'sheish mashzar masei choyshev. Should make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and crimson wool and twisted fine linen, the work of a master weaver. Okay, let's look at this Rashi. If I would try to explain the making of the ephod and the chosen according to and the choshen, sorry, the choshen, the ephod and the choshen, according to the order of the verses, their explanation would be fragmentary, and the reader would err in combining them. Therefore, I'm writing first how they were made, as it was in its entirety, so that the reader will be able to run through it quickly. Afterwards, I will explain how they were made according to the sequence of the verses. The ephod was designed like a sort of apron worn by women who ride horseback. It was interesting as Rashi seems to be saying it twice, the same thing. I'm just noticing this now, right? Because we talked about already the ephod in the Rashi over here about the ephod. So it's interesting that Rashi feels the need to say it again. The ephod was designed, I'd love to hear if anybody has any thoughts on why Rashi is going back into the ephod again now. The ephod was designed like sort of an apron worn by a woman who ride horseback. Like in the previous Rashi, he said like a princess. And he, the Kohen Gadol, would gird himself with it from behind, opposite his heart, below his elbows, its width equaling the width of a man's back and more. And the ephod would reach his ankles. So it would go all the way from his shoulders, wearing it on his shoulders, all the way down to his ankles. Like a kapatar. The belt was attached to the top of it across its width. It was the work of a weaver and extended on both sides in order to wrap the Kohen Gadol and gird him with it. The shoulder straps were attached to the belt one to the right and one to the left from the Kohen Gadol at the two ends at the width of the apron. And the shoulder straps upright. They lay flat on his two shoulders. They were like two straps made from the same material as the ephod, and they were long enough to place them upright alongside his neck. You know what? The description is great. The picture does a phenomenal job as well. We have the picture because of Rashi's explanation. But basically, what Rashi's explaining, we can clearly see in this picture. Let's move on. Okay, gold, blue, purple, crimson wool, and twisted fine linen. These 5 kinds of substances were twisted into each thread. Every thread was made up of those threads, of those colors, those materials. The workers flattened the gold into sort of a thin plate and cut cords out of them and spun them. They were gold threads. 1 thread of gold with 6 threads of blue wool, and 1 thread of gold with 6 threads of purple wool, and similarly with the crimson wool, and similarly with the linen. So they were mixed between gold and all of those other things. For the threads of the all kinds were doubled, 6-fold, and 1 thread of gold was twisted with each one. Afterwards, he would twist them all together. Thus, their threads were doubled into 28 strands. This is explained in Tractate Yoma, and it is derived from the following verse. They flattened out the sheets of gold, and he cut cords of them to work the gold cords into the blue wool, into the purple wool. We learned that a thread of gold was twisted with every kind of thread. So each one of the threads was twisted gold and 6 of the different threads. Okay, pasuk number 7. Shteik seisav chayvreis yiyuloi. She'll have 2 connected shoulder straps. This again, we're continuing about the ephod, the apron. Al shneik seisav v'chubar, at both ends, and it shall be entirely connected. Okay, the cheshav afudasai, at its decorative band, asher olav, which is above it, kimasa mimenu yiyeh, shall be of the same work as the ephod, as the apron, and it should be zav tcheles v'argama misalashni v'sheish masar. It should be from gold, blue, purple, crimson wool, and twisted fine linen. So it's made of the same exact material as the ephod itself. And now we're saying a new thing. You shall take 2 shoyam stones. Ufitachte aleim shemois bnei Yisrael, and engrave upon them the names of the children of Israel. Shisha mishmois hala even echas, 6 of their names on 1 stone. Veshmois hashisha and esarim ala even hashenis kitol dasim, and the names of the remaining 6 on the 2nd stone according to their births. Let's see if we have a picture of that. Oh, this is actually a good picture to look at. This is the ephod close up of what it would look like with the blue, crimson, and the gold mixed in. I want to find, there's some good pictures here. I didn't even realize. Here's also a picture of the mixture. You see how each one of, you probably can't see in the picture, but each one of the 6 has a gold one. 6 and a gold one, 6 and a gold one, 6 and a gold one. Okay, let's find, I came here, okay, the shoulder straps. The shoulder straps we already talked about. Right here, Avnei Shoyam, the 2 Avnei Shoyam. So you can see each one of the Avnim, each one of the stones had 6 of the names written on each of them. According to their births, let's go back to see what Rashi says. According to the order in which they were born. So Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Dan, Naphtali on 1. And on the 2nd one, Gad, Asher, Yisachar, Zvulun, Yosef, and Binyamin. Binyamin spelled full, Binyamin. For so it is written in the place of his birth. 25 letters on each stone. Wow. I didn't even realize this, that each one of the 6 names equals exactly 25 letters, spelt fully out. Okay, Maaseh Charash Even, the work of an engraver of gems. Pituche Choisem Tipachat Eshtei Havanim Al Shmois Bnei Yisrael Misubas Mishpitzei Zav Tasaisam. Similarly to the engravings of a seal that you like they had in the olden days, those seals, you shall engrave 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel. You shall make them enclosed in gold settings. So these are the gold settings that the stones go into. Visamta Shnei Avanim Al Kisbaya Ephod. If we could go to the next one, right here, you can see this is where those 2 stones go. They go on the top of the straps of the ephod. You shall put the 2 stones upon the shoulder straps. Al Kisbei Ephod Avnei Zikaron L'Bnei Yisrael, as remembrance to the children of Israel. V'nasa Aaron Eshmeisan L'Fnei Hashem, and Aaron shall carry the names before Hashem. Al Shtei Ksesav L'Zikaron, upon his shoulders as a remembrance. Let's look at Rashi as a remembrance that the Holy One, blessed be, will see the tribes written before him, and he will remember their righteousness. That ends today's Chumash. Beautiful. Learning about the garments of the Kohen Gadol. Let's go to Tanya. Okay. In chapter 29, the Alter began to deal with the problem of Timtum Alev. We're in the middle right now of we're in the middle of chapter 31. So in chapter 29, we began to talk about Timtum Alev and ways that we can combat that. And we talk about crushing one's spirit. One crushes the Sitra Achra. One crushes the Sitra Achra of his animal soul, and whose arrogance, the animal soul's arrogance, is the cause of Timtum Alev. Chapters 29/30, the Alter Rebbe describes very means of arriving at a feeling of brokenheartedness. So you can reflect on one's spiritual failings, or you can reflect on waging an adequately strenuous battle against your Yetzer Hara. We talked in the middle over there about how Yetzer Hara, everybody has different Yetzer Hara, so you have to look at, you can't judge somebody else how they, how they're acting, because you're not in their shoes. So while this method may effectively dispel Timtum Alev, has an undesirable side effect of depression, because all of a sudden you're feeling really bad about how you're doing. So let's talk about that. If you're going to dwell long, and deeply on the above mentioned matters, for an hour or two, to be lowly of spirit and contrite of heart, that might bring you to depression and let him not be perturbed. That's how he translates lo yachush. True atzvus, depression, comes from klipas noiga, so not the loy mitzadik kedusha, not from kedusha. In the realm of holiness, it says strength and gladness are in his place. And it also says that the divine presence does not rest only where there's joy. And the same joy is required for the study of halacha. So this seems to be that how could these two things work together? How can we demand that you should think about, in order to get yourself to a better place, you should think about how lowly you are, if that's going to take you to a place of atzvus, that's going to take you to a place of depression, and that's where Hashem does not reside. Ella, she'im ha'atzvus hi mimela de shamaya, yivchinas toiv shebenoiga. Except any depression that comes from the realm of klipas noiga, every depression comes from the realm of klipas noiga, except that if the depression is due to spiritual matters arising from one's realization of his spiritual failings, it stems from the good contained in klipas noiga. Like we explained right away at the beginning, chapter 1, klipas noiga contains both good and evil. For this reason, the Arizal wrote, "Shafilu da'agas ha'avonos eina ru'uya ki im b'shas havidoy." Even worry over one's sins is appropriate only during vidoy, confession, to oneself. When at night, when you take stock of your day, you can't let your whole day be brought down. There's got to be a time and a place when you are dedicating this for vidoy, or for taking stock of how things are going. But not during prayer and Torah study. Because then at those times you need to be with joy. From Mitzad Kedusha, from holiness. So then, why then should one strive to crush the spirit of the Sitra Achra with methods that lead to depression, which itself stems from Sitra Achra of Noiga? Afal Pikain, Harikak Yamida, Lahachpa, Lesitra Achra, Bemina Vidugmasa. This is precisely the method of humbling the Sitra Achra through something of its own species and kind. The Sitra Achra is most effectively attacked by utilizing the good contained within it as a weapon against itself. Taking from Sitra Achra to attack Sitra Achra is the best way. Mine ube iba lishadya be narga. From the forest itself comes the handle for the axe, made famous by Matisyahu. This saying, from the forest itself comes the handle from the axe. From the Sitra Achra itself comes the way, the antidote to get rid of it is from Sitra Achra itself. Hasimcha haba achar eitzav kaman. As it is written, in every sadness there will be a profit. The profit lies in the joy which follows the sadness. Okay. To me, it's still a pella. It's still a wonder that it seems like a dangerous thing. You got to be very careful how you use this atzvus, this depression, or these depressing thoughts, right? Ach be'emes ein lev nishper umrimer sanefesh al richukam me'er pnei Hashem v'yislabsha b'sitra achra nikram b'shem atzvus klal b'lashon hakodesh. In truth, however, the state of being contrite of heart and bitter of soul, this lev nishper, can by no means be described in Lashon HaKodesh with the word atzvus. With the word atzvus, which we generally think of as depression. The word atzvus, meaning melancholy, stems from a root which means constricted. In this context, it refers to a numbing depression that constricts one's heart, blocking out all feeling, as the Alter Rebbe continues. Ki atzvus, for atzvus, he shall libay mitumtum ke'evan ve'ein chayis b'libay. That's when one's heart is dull as a stone, and there's no vitality, no feeling in his heart. So maybe we're actually misunderstanding this completely. It doesn't bring to atzvus, because this brings to a merirus v'lev nishbar. Aval merirus v'lev nishbar adraba harayesh chayis b'libay lispal lismamer. This thinking that you're going to do, it's going to bring to bitterness and contrition and a broken heart, if you want to say. That is actually, that is a lot of chayas. So it's not necessarily atzvus. Rak she chayas mibechinas gvuros. It's a k'doshes. V'asimcha mibechinas chasadim. Ki alev kolol mishteim. Only what type of chayas is it? It's chayas, it's vitality that comes from gvura, as opposed to where joy comes from chesed. But the heart has both gvura and chesed. Okay, at any rate, v'hine leitim tzarach la'ayres b'chinas gvuras hakdushos. It's important at times to arouse this ayres gvuras, these feelings that come from severity and are not necessarily joy. Like we said, there are times when you should take stock, and that it's not, like the Alter Rebbe just said, it's not atzvus really. It's not really depression. It's actually, it may look like sadness, but it's a different type of thing, because depression has a disconnect, has a like, oh, I'm not interested in getting out of bed. Like no life, no chayas. This actually does the opposite effect. It does have chayas, although it's chayas migvurais. So v'hine leitim tzarach liyos b'chinas gvuras hakdoshes k'dei lahamtik hadinim shehem b'chinas nefesh habahamis v'yetzer hara k'sheshelach chas v'shalom ala adam. And this is the way to when chas v'shalom, the nefesh habahamis or the yetzer hara is dominating a person. Ke'ein hadinim nimtakim ela v'sharsham. For stern judgments, restraints on one's spiritual well-being can only be sweetened by means of their source. Let's read this note. All evil is simply a degenerate form of the attribute of gvura that derives from the realm of holiness, from tzimtzumim, and descends of this attribute to transform it to evil, the evil of klipa. So through a tzimtzum, all evil comes from gvura. It's interesting. Naturally, this includes also the sitra achra of one's animal soul and his evil impulse and his yetzer hara. In order to elevate or sweeten evil, in return evil to return evil to the realm of holiness, it is necessary to bring its source to bear on it. In terms of one's divine service, this means crushing one's evil impulse by merirut. You got, similar like we said, the handle from the axe. You got to use gevura itself in order to get rid of evil, which has a source in Gevura. For this reason, our sages says one should always incite the good inclination to anger against the evil inclination, because also anger comes from Gevura. This, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean always? La'olam. What does it mean always? If you're going to have always Gevura, always this feeling, you'll never be able to get anything done. So the Alter Rebbe qualifies and says, what is Vahainu? What does it mean? Always whenever he finds it necessary for himself. As, for example, when one sees that the arrogance of his animal soul does not permit the light of his divine soul to penetrate his heart, causing him to malev. You see a moment of hardship, and that's a time that you can, it's appropriate. Shas hakosher, the shihi shah yuchedes uriel lakach l'roi bnei adam. The appropriate time for this anger of the divine soul at the animal soul, meaning the time which is opportune and fitting for most people, he b'shashu otzav belev hachi mumela da'alma oikach b'li shum siba. So when one in any case is depressed over the mundane matters, or just so without any discernible cause. Azai hishas hakosher lahapecha eitzev liyes mimori dechushbana haniskala el. When you're already in a depressed state, that might be a good time to transform that depressed state from one of just being upset about somebody taking your parking spot, or I don't know, some mundane thing. Transform it to a more spiritual upsetness. One should always incite and through this, he will be rid of depressions brought on by mundane matters. If you're able to transform all of your depressive thoughts and harness them to Kedusha, that will take care of all the depressive thoughts in general. It was a pleasure to learn with you. That was a interesting Tanya, heavy Tanya. Whoa, a lot to think about, a lot to do. Today's Tehillim for the 5th day of Adar is the 29 chapters 29 to 34. It was a pleasure learning with you. I'm not sure why the Zoom didn't work. Not the Zoom, the Facebook Live seems like it didn't work. But I look forward tomorrow and the rest of the week, 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. Excited to learn with you all.
So the secret to not being depressed is to just think joyful things.